After 18 free updates, the developers of No Man's Sky have created a masterpiece with new people playing every day. So if you're one of those new people, stick around to learn how to play No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky does a great job of teaching players how to play, using the campaign as an opportunity to teach most aspects of the game. But it takes a while to get far enough through the game that the restrictions are lifted and you have the ability to play all the unique parts of the game. Watching a video like this will really help speed that up. This is a space survival game where you're going to gather resources, expand and upgrade your tools, suit, spaceship, buildings, and villages, but we need to learn to walk before we can run. So let's start with some of the more unusual keybinds, those being melee attack using Q, and E to use an item. Z will open up the build menu, and X will open up the quick menu. C is also going to perform a scan around the area. Escape will open up the options and kind of scientific tab, and inventory is opened by pushing the tab key. And if you ever need to break down a generator or something like that, try pushing the scroll wheel on your mouse. As far as the interface is concerned, the top left will have your health icon. The bottom left has your environmental protection and life support. The compass is on the top. The weapons and wanted level, which will come into play later in the game, are on the top right. And any status or mission effects are going to be found on the bottom right side of the screen. Most of these won't always be there, and they'll only pop in when there's a change to them and they're not at 100%. In addition to a wonderful user interface, the game also boasts a vast currency system. Units are the traditional form of money and can be used to buy and sell items. You've also got nanites in the game, which is sort of a secondary currency, and those are used to upgrade equipment and buy some blueprints. And then you've got quicksilver, which is earned later in the game and is used to buy cosmetic items. And in addition to the currencies, there's a wide range of resources in this game, many of which are a lot of the base elements you'll see on the periodic table, like cobalt, sodium, and the list goes on. There's 5 that we're going to need in the beginning, and those include sodium, oxygen, carbon, dihydrogen, and ferrite. Sodium is used to recharge life support. Oxygen also helps recharge life support and is used in the portable refiner, which we will learn about in a little bit. Carbon is used in a lot of crafting recipes and also is the fuel for the refiner. It'll also help you recharge your mining laser. Dihydrogen jelly has a use in various recipes as well as for ship fuel, and ferrite is used in almost every crafting recipe in one form or another. There are 2 types of damage, physical and environmental. Physical damage comes from enemies like sentries or pirates, whereas environmental comes from the environment you're hanging out in, and that one's a little bit more dangerous because it can creep up on you. There's 3 different types of environmental damage. There's like the heat, cold, temperature type, radiation, and then toxicity. These all affect you in a very similar way because your suit protects you for a while against the environmental damage, but eventually will give out and you'll start taking damage to your health. To give you more time, you can refill the protection in your suit using sodium or ion batteries, or you can hide in a cave, a house, or your ship. These are the 2 main ways of dying in No Man's Sky. So when you start up a new game, the first task you're going to be given is to fix your multi-tool. But first it can be helpful to find a cave system to hide in. That way the environmental damage is healed when you're under the cover in an area like a cave. So let's do that, and then take a look at this multi-tool. It's your best friend when you're on foot. The multi-tool allows you to manipulate terrain, mine out large areas, or build mountains. It has the gear you need to get resources out of trees and rocks, like carbon and ferrite, and is your weapon in case anything wants to attack you. So obviously it is pretty important to repair. And even once it is repaired, you won't start with a fully upgraded multi-tool that can accomplish all these tasks. You'll have to upgrade it slowly over the course of the game. But just like the game says, the first step is to repair the scanner. To repair it, we just need to use 75 ferrite dust on the multi-tool, and we'll be able to scan the environment. You can find ferrite dust in rocks, and we can mine it using the left mouse button. Once we have 75, we just pop open the multi-tool and click on the scanner. Then we use the ferrite dust to repair the scanner. Now we can scan for plants that contain sodium, oxygen, and dihydrogen. Because we already had the ability to use the mining laser on trees and plants to get carbon and on rocks to get ferrite dust, we now have access to the 5 most important resources in the beginning of the game. Now that we have the multi-tool straightened out, we can move on to the ship, and to get our first ship, we just follow this beacon until eventually we get there. Once we get there, search some broken machinery, and you'll complete the rest of the quest. Hop into the starship, and there you go, you're in your first starship in No Man's Sky. It's not flyable yet though, we still need to fix it. So let's go around and see what we need to do. If we look in our inventory and check out the starship, we can click on the malfunctioning components and see what we need to fix them. We're going to need some metal plates and a Hermetic Seal, some dihydrogen jelly, and a couple other things. So let's get started with the metal plate. To build that, we're just going to need 50 ferrite dust. So let's go around and collect 50 ferrite dust and we'll come back. Alright, we've got our 50 ferrite dust and now we just need to build the metal plate, which we can do in our inventory screen. And now we just use the metal plate on the starship. We go into the starship view, select the component that requires the ferrite dust and the metal plate to repair. Boom! It's all fixed. Next step is going to be getting a Hermetic Seal, which is going to be a little bit more difficult. Before going any further and looking at the nav data that'll show us where our first Hermetic Seal is, I like to take a minute and install an analysis visor. Normally the game would prompt us to make this analysis visor a little bit later on, but it can be helpful. If you're wandering over to the Hermetic Seal and you find a couple things you can scan, that's free early money. And it's pretty simple to install, it just goes right into the multi-tool. Now we can move on to the Hermetic Seal. So at this point, the game starts to get a little bit more dangerous. Once you start looking for the Hermetic Seal, the game will throw a weather storm at you. These dramatically increase the environmental damage you take and can kill you pretty quickly, so you have a couple options. You can use sodium to repair your spacesuit while you're walking through the storm. You can just book it and hope you make it there. This really is only feasible in normal mode though, because in the survival modes, it can get you pretty quick. The final option is to hide in a cave or your ship and wait until the storm passes, the latter being the safest option. Once you make it to the abandoned outpost, you walk into one of the buildings and search for the Hermetic Seal. It will be on one of the walls, and then you just simply head back to your ship and repair it. Along the way, if you want to grab some dihydrogen or ferrite, that's great too. Scan a couple things and make some early units. It's all good. The next step is to make some dihydrogen jelly. It just takes 40 dihydrogen, and then you put that in the ship and that section's repaired. Finally, the last part of the ship requires pure ferrite to fix, and to do that, we're gonna have to create a portable refiner. You can do this in the build menu by pushing Z, and using 30 oxygen and a metal plate, we create a portable refiner. You just place it down, and you're good to go. To use it, we're gonna need carbon or oxygen as fuel. It goes in the top slot here, and we're going to go ahead and put some ferrite dust into the left slot here. Once you have both these things in there, you can start processing the pure ferrite, and you're going to need about 50 of these for repairs. So when you're done, you just pick up the pure ferrite, put it in your backpack. Then you back out, and you can hold the middle mouse button, and that'll break down the portable refiner and put it right into your inventory. At this point in the game, you should pretty much always have a portable refiner in your inventory. It's going to come in handy a lot. Once we've got the ferrite, we just plop it into the starship and voila! Ship's all fixed up. Now we're just going to learn how to fly the ship. We can speed up and slow down. We can put on a sort of turbo boost by using the shift button. And our warp drive is just the space button. That's the best way to cover really long distances in a short time. So accelerating using shift is free, but the warp drive requires something called tritium, and you can see how much you have left down here. You're going to be asked to perform a planetary scan, which can be done using C, and then you simply follow the marker to the location. This won't lead you exactly where you need to go, but it will be close, and we're going to have to follow the remaining few hundred feet or so on foot, and you can do this using the target sweep mode in your visor. The next step is going to be to install the terrain manipulator for your multi-tool, so gather up the carbon nanotubes and the dihydrogen jelly, and get it installed. At this point, we're going to need to use that multi-tool to collect some copper. Now, the multi-tool can be used in various sizes. There's a small, a medium, and a large size. The larger the manipulator you use, the fewer resources you'll get, but the quicker it'll be. So it's a trade-off. When I'm doing something like this, I like to use the small one. So once we've got our copper, we're going to convert that into chromatic metal inside the portable refiner, and we'll use that to build our first shelter. Once you have your chromatic metal, build the building computer. But before you do that, you're going to want to make sure you have quite a good amount of carbon and ferrite dust, because the game's going to call in another weather storm. And the game does this just to show you, basically, that you can survive a storm inside your base. Your base will keep you safe. So during this whole time, while I'm going out and getting copper and getting this carbon and ferrite dust, I'm also using my analyzer and terrain manipulator to search out buried technology modules, and they can be found underground. You'll open your analysis visor, you'll look for this icon that looks like two triangles inside of a larger diamond, and once you get close to a salvage module, you'll see this icon pop up, and that means that you can start pointing towards it and using your terrain manipulator to dig down and eventually find the salvage. This will reward you with between 1 and 4 salvage data. To be honest, you really only need 3 to progress to the next part of the game, but it's going to be a lot easier if you grab more than 14. Your first base will be a lot more future-proof. So I usually go ahead and grab 14 while I'm looking for all these other pieces of the puzzle. I like my first base to be somewhere useful, so I take my ship and look around for some sort of a trading area on the planet. Here I've found a trading hub. It only took me a few minutes to find, and it's where I'm going to build my first base. Building it here will just make this first base much more useful throughout the rest of the game. You don't have to. You can do it without it. On my first run, I didn't do this, but it's helpful and it'll keep your base relevant throughout the rest of the game. Now that we have our location picked out, we can start building our base. We're gonna need some carbon, ferrite dust, and pure ferrite to do that, so go ahead and gather some up. In this playthrough, I didn't gather enough up, so make sure you do. The first step to building your base is going to be to throw down a base computer, and I'm just going to place that here. Once you've got the computer up and running, and you look through it a couple of times, then you can build your house. That's going to be a foundation, 4 walls, and a roof will do. You can make it bigger, but you're not going to get the good parts until later on in the game, so this one I usually make pretty simple. So we ran out of pure ferrite here, so we had to make some more. Then we just finish off building our roof and we can move on to the next step, and that's researching some more advanced technologies. The game starts to open up here a little bit as you develop teleportation. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and build our construction unit. And that's going to take some magnetized ferrite, which is just pure ferrite that's been processed in the refinery. If you look here, you can see magnetic ferrite is a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning it takes 2 pure ferrite to make 1 magnetized ferrite. And this is a theme you'll see throughout the rest of the game. Add on a couple of carbon nanotubes, and you've got your first research unit. So this is where we research new technologies for us to build. Because right now there's just not that much available besides a few wooden walls, a door, and a portable refiner. And this is where all that salvage data comes in handy. That's the currency that we use to unlock these new technologies. It takes 3 at the bare minimum to research the teleporter and the biofuel generator, and the wires are free, so you can progress with only 3. But if you took the time earlier to get 14, we can research the solar panels and batteries, which add a lot of ease and longevity to our base. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. Once we've researched the teleporter, we're just going to go ahead and throw it down. I'm going to place it here on this empty part of the platform, and then it's just a matter of getting it powered. You can use the biofuel generator if you only had those 3 salvage data. My advice though is to only use a couple of carbon to fuel it at a time, because you'll burn through the carbon very quickly, and you really only need 2 or 3 to power the teleporter long enough to access it. Here though, we're going to go ahead and place this solar panel, which is going to take some gold. And you get gold by blasting asteroids. You'll find those in space, and you just shoot them with your ship. You'll get gold eventually. You need a fair amount, but not too much. And then you can place down a solar panel, and then you don't ever have to worry about using fuel. And then we're just going to place a battery here so that we don't have to worry about the solar panel not working at night. So at this point, we've got a pretty great base, so the game's going to want us to move on. We're going to get to the space station now. Hop in your ship, head out to orbit, find this symbol, and warp. Once you get there, you just fly in through this holographic doorway and you'll land in the space station. One really important piece of information about the first time you visit the space station is not to talk to any of the vendors. The quest that you're on in the first space station will make it so the first 3 people you talk to will be afraid of you and won't ever be able to talk to again. So to avoid scaring away the guy who gives you missions or the person who sells salvage, just talk to some of these guys who are walking around randomly. And you won't need to speak with them in the future. It's a great solution to something that would be otherwise very frustrating. There's a lot of really useful stuff in the space station. On the right side here, you've got your trading terminal. That's where you're going to buy and sell a lot of your materials. Later on in the game, you might not even need to farm materials like ferrite or carbon. You'd probably just come to the Galactic Terminal and buy them, saving you a lot of money and time. The missions agent is over here. You've got a guild envoy, which offers some different rewards for being friendly with different species. A cartographer that sells planetary charts, like the one we used to find our first Hermetic Seal. And a teleporter. We can use this to get back to our base. Even if your base teleporter is unpowered, this teleporter will still get you there. And then on the left side, we have things that are geared more towards upgrading your already existing equipment, like the Starship Modifier, the Appearance Modifier. You've got one of the most important salesmen here, which is the Exosuit Modifiers. They sell upgrades for your exosuit. They also sell inventory slots. You can only buy 1 inventory slot per space station you visit though, so make sure you grab them every time you visit a space station, even if they're expensive. Then you've got your Multitool Upgrade Station, your Starship Upgrade Station, you've got an Exocraft Upgrade Station. These all get expensive, but they're super helpful. And there's also these back rooms here. Also, if you ever find any holographic squares, make sure to click them, you'll get free nanites. At some point after you've done all this, you're going to get the recipe for a warp cell and an antimatter drive. You're going to travel from system to system. At the second system you go to, you're going to discover the Anomaly. And that's really where this game opens up and turns into this wonderful open world experience where you can go out, improve your character, build these wonderful bases, and explore this endless galaxy and find so much to do. You can get your friends to play and enjoy with you, or you can play solo. It doesn't matter. You just have to play the way that you would enjoy it. And that's the beauty of it. So despite its less than appealing launch, Hello Games has taken this and turned it into a masterpiece. There is so much to do, and the beauty that lies ahead of you is so exciting. If you haven't picked this game up yet, I really recommend it. It's such a blast to play. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And click on one of these videos that have been hand-picked for your enjoyment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.